We've all done it. We bought a part off the internet and we're so excited to install it on our car to gain more horsepower. Little does Tony know here that the cold air intake that he just installed is in fact a hot air intake, which is the opposite of what we're going to do to the Drift Ghia this week. We're back on the Drift Ghia, and last week we gave the car a mustache to match my mustache. And this week we're gonna work on the air intake system. And this is something I'm very excited about and I've been looking forward to for a couple months now. You see, the engine in your car likes nice, cold, dense air, especially if it's turbocharged. This car is going to be a dedicated track car and also a drift car. One might think, hey, I could just pop on a cone filter right here on the turbo and we'd be set. And sure, technically that would work. However, what would happen is that filter and turbo will be pulling in a lot of hot air from the engine bay. Hot air is less dense and not what your engine likes. So here's my solution, guys. My goal this week is to make an airbox, and the airbox is gonna live in this area right here, go into the air intake of the turbo. I picked up some goodies here, like an air filter and some bends and couplers and whatnot, and it's going to be designed and built to pull air from the grill I made on this side, and it's gonna pull that fresh, cold air from the outside of the nose directly to the turbo, bypassing the engine heat. We are putting the radiator for the cooling system in the back of the car, which gives us more room up front. And up front in the bottom of the nose, we have the intercooler installed. Well, currently it's not in there. I gotta pop it back in here for my modeling, but the intercooler is gonna be right here. So there's gonna be hot air on the back side of the intercooler that we don't wanna be sucking in to the turbo. So I've come up with a fun workflow that's going to use modern technology to make this quick and hopefully like an OEM Plus add-on to this car. So I mustache you to stick around. Now, I'm not gonna do that, it's stupid. So to begin this process, the first thing I have to do is take the nose off the car, which means I gotta take the mustache bash bar we made last week off, and then we're gonna get the intercooler mounted back onto the engine and take a 3D scan. Look at that. I know some of you were worried about how the metal on the edge of the bumper is going to tweak the body if you hit the front end hard enough with the bash bar. I'm not worried about that, guys. This thing's a piece of junk. What I'm worried about is if we hit something, at like 40 or so, and if I can salvage the front end of the car in general, not just some cosmetic damage. Cosmetic damage is fine. I don't want to shove everything into the engine. That's what I'm worried about. Nose is off, intercooler's loosely mocked up in place. So up next, I'm gonna take the 3D scanner. I'm gonna scan the engine and the turbo and the intercooler area right here so I can know what I'm working with in CAD. And then I'm also gonna go ahead and scan the cone filter and some of the elbows that I bought so I can have them just throw in the CAD software as well, just so I can kind of play around with placement and see what works. Because what I'm gonna end up doing is 3D printing the actual airbox, which should give me a cool like OEM Plus style look at the end. And with the modern filaments and printers that we have nowadays that are affordable, it should stand up to the track and use in general. This is the RevoPoint Morocco or Miraco, I don't know how to pronounce it correctly, Pro. It's an all-in-one scanner. Works pretty well, especially for a budget scanner. There's my point cloud, looks pretty good. Let's process it. There it is post-process. You see I got the turbo there. I got the top edge of the intercooler and the edge of the intercooler piping. That's all I really need. So now I gotta put the nose back on and scan the nose as well. I'm also quickly gonna scan the filter here so I can remodel it in CAD accurately. So then when I'm modeling where it's gonna be in this 3D space, I can kind of play around with it without having to guesstimate. This is AE Sub 3D scanning spray. You spray it on, makes a white matte finish, and then it completely dissolves later and evaporates and goes to nothing, so I don't have to worry about damaging anything. That's plenty good. That's all I need for data. Bippity boppity nose. There we go. That made it easier. Also, I need to go ahead and cut out this piece of rusty mess that's in this front grille quick. And then we'll keep going. So the reason that I scanned the engine and turbo area with the nose off is just in case I couldn't get enough data while scanning with the nose on. The scanner is an entry-level scanner, and sometimes it'll have trouble with tracking when it's like a tight area like that. So it's just a layer of safety, plus I had to take the nose off anyway to get the intercooler in the way I wanted to. So now that the front end is back and assembled again, I have the bumper back on. I have the intercooler in here. I have the bash bar going through. We have the turbo location. Now I'm going to spray with a 3D scanning spray, and we're going to scan the same area again. So we're going to scan up here. We're going to scan the nose itself. If I just scan the outside here, I'll get the data that I need. What I really need is this location where these parts are that will get in the way, and also the grill opening right here to model our air box for our cold air intake. Also, when it comes to the spray, which I said evaporates, I sprayed and scanned the air filter yesterday at the end of the day before I left. And look, there's no more spray anywhere on this. It completely, even like the shiny areas, like it completely evaporates, and it kind of blows my mind how that works, but I'm not gonna think much about it. I'm just gonna let it do its thing. Look at that. This point cloud came out so much better with the 3D scanning spray. I should have done it earlier. Oops. So I spent a good bit of time trying to model this airbox, and I was running into problems because I realized I was a bit over my head, mainly because, well, I'm trying to do this in a reasonable amount of time to get this video out in time. So I ended up outsourcing some help to Juan Noguera, a good friend of the channel. He is an industrial designer. This is what he does. So I asked him some questions about how to move forward, and he said, let me just show you on my computer. He hopped on his own computer, I sent the file over, and then he came up with a much better airbox with the mess that I started with, so kudos to him. Juan, thank you so much. Everybody else comment, thank you, Juan, for helping us out in this video. Juan's a great guy. Check out his stuff. I'll put a link to his website and Instagram and such in the video description. He does fantastic work. Now, this seems to be a great time to talk about this week's sponsor, Bambu Lab. Now, you guys have seen my Bambu Lab A1 combo. I love that printer, but now it's time to talk about the X1 Carbon, or what's known as the X1C. The Bambu Lab X1C is probably one of my favorite printers I've ever owned. They sent me the X1C combo, which has the AMS. It's a 4-filament system that allows you to have 4 different filaments at the same time, whether you want to print multiple colors or just be able to hop around from different exotic filaments for high-end prints like we're doing today. For this print, I'm opting to use PLA CF, so it has additional rigidity and dimensional accuracy, and we'll go into that later. But right now we're going to focus on printing this first iteration. Much like the A1, the Bambu Lab X1C also has auto calibration, so it has auto bed leveling. But the X1C also has a LiDAR scanning system. So one of the features of that is it scans these calibration lines it does in the beginning of the print to make sure the flow is correct. And then also on the first layer of the print, it'll scan that as well to make sure that there's no major issues and it can go ahead and keep printing. Another thing I really like about the X1C is that it's fully enclosed, so it keeps that heat in, which you might need for some exotic filaments. And it also has remote print monitoring, meaning I can watch a live stream of the print on my computer or on my phone. And I can also start prints remotely and troubleshoot issues as well. I'll actually have notifications pop up if there is a print issue. It knows a lot more than an average 3D printer, and I love that actually, because 3D printing isn't perfect. You're going to have issues sometimes. So it's nice to have machinery that'll let you know when that problem happens, rather than starting a print, going home and coming back in the next morning to a giant mess. The X1C nozzle temp goes up to 300 degrees Celsius, which is pretty high for a printer at this price point, which allows you to do exotic filaments like polycarbonate, for example, which is maybe what we're gonna be using for the final product of our Airbox. Polycarbonate would be very strong and be able to withstand the heat of the engine bay. But I've been using this printer a lot. I've had this printer for about 2 months now, I would say, and it's been running almost non-stop. It is the fastest printer I've ever owned. Now, I do also have an X1E, which is like the brother to the X1C. It's the Enterprise edition, so it has a heated build chamber, so it can handle a little bit more robust high-end printing at non-stop volume. So I ran both prints overnight and came in the next morning, and they were beautiful. I popped them off the build plate and fitted them up against each other to make sure they stayed dimensionally accurate, and they did, which is what I was really hoping for with the carbon fiber filament. Without the extra carbon fiber, it might have warped on the edges and not met completely the whole way through. If you 3D print, you know what I'm talking about. You'll notice I've printed the 2 parts on 2 different printers overnight because I couldn't fit them all on one printer, and to save time, I have the X1E running as well. I'm gonna do the same here today while these parts print. So big thanks to Bamboo Lab for sponsoring this week's video. Sponsorships like this keep our channel going. Sponsorships like this also get us really cool equipment to keep our channel going as well. If you're looking for a 3D printer that can handle some higher end printing, the X1C is the printer for you. You can find out more about this printer in the link in the description down below. Let's go get back to work. Little sidebar, we had a fun thing show up in a very large box. And that's thanks to you guys.
I think there's something alive in there.
Yeah, the Tasmanian Devil. Inside this box is a water jet that Wazer sent us, and to even the Pro model. And that's because you guys are watching our channel.
I'm not sure if we should have received the Pro model.
Don't say that, I'll take it back. So let's open it up and see what we have in here.
The smallest pry bar you've ever seen. Hey Ryan, is that a pry bar in your pocket?
Ah! You'll notice that Tony comes in the videos just to open up things I don't feel like doing.
And because I want to see what's inside, so.
What's in the box? Who's got a cover on it? And some boxes. When I had a call with Wazer yesterday, when they said they were gonna ship it out, they said there's a ramp involved with the box to get it off the pallet, which is really ingenious. Release the Kraken.
It was kind of cool. Like a drawbridge just dropped.
Mm-hmm. What is your quest?
What is your favorite color?
That's so cool that they put a ramp in this.
I'm usually disappointed in packaging, but this is the best.
Thanks, Wazer. Now we're gonna walk over your logo to put this thing on. This thing on and off. Yo, it even comes with a caliper, man. Thank you, Vanna. Woo! Look at that. So if you don't know what this is a water jet. What it does is it pushes a ton of water at a high pressure with some garnet to cut materials. So when we make some beefy parts coming up soon for the Ghia and Jigsaw, this is gonna be a big asset. That's right, a big asset. And I am so excited because I've wanted a Wazer water jet for years. And again, thanks to you guys, we have one now. This company's investing in us because of you. which means you guys are getting even bigger, better videos with really, really cool content. So thanks, guys. We appreciate all of you. We're gonna do a much more in-depth video on the Wazer in the near future. I'm just impatient and want to cut something today because I spent 2 hours setting up the machine and I want to see what it can do. So we'll explain more about how the machine works and what we're gonna do with it in a upcoming video. It's even got this little spray nozzle.
Here we go.
First cut, Tony's doing the first cut. Are you excited?
I am. Machines building machines. You really don't want to do that. All right, I reached the bottom, but I don't feel the valve. Remember that thing where I said, like, it said important, remove drop valve insert before you do anything? And you're like, oh, you don't need to do that on this one? Remember that part?
Trust me with your tool, Wazer. I'm good with it.
This is like those workouts where you like turn your hands around in a rice bucket.
I don't work out, so I don't know what that means. Hey! That? I think we're supposed to remove that, Tony.
I think you're right.
I think that's why this hasn't been cutting. You're like, why is it only etching it and not cutting it? There's something wrong, I think.
That thing in bold type that said, important, don't skip this step.
You'll have that on these bigger shots. How's the edge look, Tony?
The edge looks great.
Ooh, look at that. So what we cut was the jig to line up your parts on the bed. It's like the file that comes pre-built into the machine, and it works. All right, so that's enough playing. So while we wait for the rest of the pieces to print for the Airbox, for the cold air intake, we're gonna work on something else. I really want to keep moving on this project. We need to get this car running soon. Aside from the obvious upfront issues like we need to make an exhaust manifold, which is coming soon. We gotta actually mount our intercooler up front. And of course, we need to actually do a cooling system that runs to the back of the car, which shouldn't be too bad to do. There's another major thing that needs to happen so this engine can fire off. Because as we know, to fire an engine off, you need air, spark, and fuel. We so far just have mostly air. The spark, of course, is going to come from the ignition system, which we're working on getting, so that leaves us with fuel. A while back, we pulled out this fuel cell from the 944 chassis because it was sitting right here in the passenger area, and I want to have a passenger seat. So what we're gonna do is relocate this to a better spot in the car. So back here in the rear end, we have our snail transmission from a 951, which doesn't need as much space as the regular 944 transmission. The regular 944 transmission humps up pretty high up here. This one does not, which means we can cut out a lot of the area up here and make a nice flat area for the fuel cell, which can live directly behind the driver and passenger seat. I'll probably actually have it go towards the passenger side to just kind of push the weight over that way for when it's just me driving the car. So the first point of order is going to be removing the body so we can have a lot of room to work with and I don't have to climb in and out of this thing for no reason. That made it easy. And now I have gloves on too. Sick. Now you can really see how much space we do not need anymore here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the laser level and I'm gonna paint the laser across here in a plane that's a little bit above the transmission. And we're just gonna kind of lop this off. And then we'll fill it in with sheet metal that ties into this brace back here, right into this flange. And we'll have to be careful to go around the tops of the coilover mounts there, but shouldn't be a problem. Put the laser right there. And look, it paints a perfect line to cut. So easy. I also bought a bunch more ink saws because I keep losing mine. And by losing, I mean leaving them at home. Elisa, if you're watching this video, I don't want to hear it. I'm sorry. This is that rear mounted alternator that we talked about in like the first or second video of the series. Yeah, I'm gonna finally pull this thing off because we're not gonna use it. There you go. All right, that back end is cut out now. You'll notice that the line I picked right here is lower than the flange that we're going to attach to. And that's because what I want to do is have a flat shelf, break it up, break it over, and then weld to that flange. That'll get us a nice level shelf to build off of for the fuel cell back here, and a backstop to sit against that's nice and solid. So now it's time to bust out my good friend poster board and do our layout. I messed up. So when I put it in here and I bent it up, right? Now I need to put it in this way and bend it that way, but it doesn't reach in my brake. And I can't go any other which way. And I was thinking about it, if I had gone the opposite direction and bent that flange up first and then flipped it to bend it the other way, I also couldn't do that because that flange would hit here anyway. So I guess I'll just use the tipping die on the bead roller to bend this flange over, because what else am I gonna do? If I get it, most of the way, I can bend it a little bit more in the brake after to kind of crisp it up. It fits in nicely, and it's a race car, so you're not even gonna see this anyway when it's together. So we're fit up pretty well. I overlapped this front edge because I intend to flange it over. So I gotta mark the backside of that to what it fits to now, because it kind of moved around since I had my original pattern. So I'm gonna slide a marker underneath here as best I can to mark that edge, and then we'll bead roll it down to break that edge, and then probably hammer it the rest of the way to fit. I'm gonna make a bracket that holds the fuel cell here and it kind of hangs out. So I'm gonna ignore, trying to make this too over engineered for the sake of time. So let's do that. All right, that should do it. Just a little bit of pre-shrink here because it's definitely gonna need it. A little bit of pre-stretch. Sheet metals have crinkles. Hammer. Weld warped. Hammer. Coworkers annoying you? All right, we're looking good. I'm gonna weld it in. All right, so now I have a nice shelf to build off of. Now it's time for you to go in there. So I had a thought while I was working on this, and I was going to put the fuel tank to the side, but I need to have room for the air to go down the side vents to the rear radiator, including the top too, but it's gonna be also down the side. So if I have this against the side, it might be a little tough to do that. We'll see how it fits first. Something kind of like that instead, because what I was talking about earlier was having this fuel tank to be towards the passenger side, because most of the time I'm gonna drive this by myself, so to offset the weight side to side, which is something that's very common in race cars. You wanna have the weight equally distributed throughout the whole chassis. But I'm building a drift car and I'm not caring that much about it. I might just center it so then I have room for the vents on either side. So I'm gonna sleep on it and finish it in the morning. I know some of you have been wondering what's been going on with Project Jigsaw. And the short answer is, well, we're working on it. And you guys are gonna have a video on Jigsaw soon, maybe next week or the following. We're getting everything together for the video, so just give us a little bit more time and you'll have an update on Jigsaw soon. Don't worry, we're not quitting Project Jigsaw. We're just jumping around from project to project as, you know, we have parts and deadlines. And one of the major deadlines right now is getting the Ghia ready to drive because we want to drive this thing on the track ASAP this summer. We started the Ghia as a shorter term project and it kind of ballooned into a little bit more than we anticipated. A lot of that had to do because you guys wanted to have a more in-depth project. Unfortunately, we do one video a week and there's only 2 of us, and right now Tony's working on some other things that keep the business moving in the other shop, so it's been really just mostly me in the last month-ish. You'll have more Jigsaw soon. And also, we're gonna have a drifting Ghia soon as well. And Tony and I mentioned last video, at 100,000 subscribers, we're gonna unveil a really neat project. And by unveil, I mean we're going to have a project done in 1 or 2 videos, probably 1, that's going to be celebrating 100,000 subscribers. You guys can send stickers to put on the project to this address on the screen. It'll be in the video description as well, because we want to include you guys with the project. And Patreon subscribers are getting their names put on the project as well. So if you're not part of the Patreon and you want to be part of the Patreon because you get access to our exclusive Discord and other features, including these videos a day early, sign up for that. We appreciate all of you and your patience with our projects. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey, and we try to make the journey as fun as possible. So laying in bed last night, I came up with a plan for the fuel cell and how I'm going to mount it, but I'm really more interested right now in focusing on the main topic of the video, which is going back to the air intake. Let's see how it came out when it printed, and we're gonna slap it together and see how it fits in the car. All right, let's see if the filter fits. All right, let's see if we can fit this thing in here now. So after some wrestling, we got the Airbox installed. And as you can see, it fits pretty well. I did end up choosing to order one of these bubble ring style couplers that can wiggle. Bad idea, because the metal ring is smaller or about the same size as 3 inches, so it doesn't let me slide in as far as I'd like to and the angle I'd like to, which is causing the Airbox to push to the side really weird. And also, the Airbox fits 90%. I have some revisions to make for the final version, but all in all, I'd call that a success because we went from having no Airbox at all to a solid cold air intake that technically works, but needs a mild revision to fit perfectly. And we still need to make brackets to mount it to the body itself because right now it's just sandwiched in and held on with a coupler. But not bad for just a little bit of work this week to go from nothing to what looks to be almost OEM quality plastic. So unfortunately, we are out of time for this week, but you can look forward to in the future, I'm going to work on modeling the rest of that Airbox to give it a little bit of an update. And we're gonna print it out of some nylon and we'll install that. So we'll mix that into an upcoming video. And also we're gonna get back to the fuel cell back there and we're gonna get that thing sorted as well, along with the other million of things that needs to happen to get this car running and driving. But thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next week. And thank you for hanging in the shop with us.
Ryan sucks at magic.
Rude.